Hello and welcome back. My name is Bianca Beck, and today we're talking about what it's really like doing business in Qatar as we head into 2026. I'm joined today by my colleagues Hussein Hachem and Mindy, who are actually both based in Doha and working closely with the companies entering and growing in the Qatar market. They see the day-to-day reality of what's changing, what's exciting, and what businesses are really experiencing on the ground. We're going to chat to you today about the current business mood in Qatar, the sectors that are really picking up speed, the impact of recent reforms, and what investors are looking for right now. And of course, we'll look a bit ahead and what the big opportunities might be over the next few years. So let's jump into it. Guys, let's start with if you wouldn't mind giving me a bit of an assessment about how the current business environment is in Qatar at the moment.
Yes, if you allow me to start. Hi, everyone. My name is Hussein, and I'm based in Qatar office with Sovereign PPG. So, yes, very good question to start with, to be honest. So I would describe Qatar market usually as maybe vital market, always vital, leveling up rapidly because maybe of the Qatar vision, National Vision 2030. You know that Qatari government decided to diversify the economic standards, maybe because it was like highly dependent on hydrocarbon kind of industry. So now we can notice that major sectors are evolving, like educational, healthcare, tourism also as well. Healthcare, tourism, a lot of industries are evolving in the market in general. So I would say that it's really a vibrant market. It's really developing very quickly, and it's promising for a lot of investors to come visit Qatar, check the available opportunities. Yeah.
I think in terms of general sentiment, a lot of clients have said that the overall sentiment is very upbeat, especially companies who are looking at entering the market because of the relaxation of the foreign ownership. So allowing a lot more business activities to be 100% foreign owned. And also the government has introduced a lot of new laws, for example, the bankruptcy law, the private public partnership law. I think this has made Qatar a very stable, business-friendly, investor-friendly environment. And I still see full of opportunities in Qatar itself for foreigners to come in to explore the different sectors that are available in Qatar.
Okay, and from your experience, what are some of the factors that are currently attracting new investors into Qatar?
There are a lot of attracting factors for the investors. One of these factors are, we all know that the strategic location of Qatar, maybe the proximity to Asia, to Europe, to Africa. This is like a very the location plays very important role, I would say, with maybe let's say a world-class logistics hub built in Qatar, like one of the biggest ports, Hamad International Airport as well, one of the biggest airport in the world, and maybe most advanced and developed. I would say also that tax initiatives in Qatar. We all know that Qatar Free Zone are offering 20 years tax holiday for the foreign investors, and of course with foreign ownership without any Qatari sponsor, as well as maybe a lot of supporting programs initiated by the government, like Qatar Business Incubation Center that is run by Qatar Development Bank. This is very important that maybe encourage the entrepreneurs, the small businesses, the small medium businesses to come and maybe check these programs. They are really supportive programs, and they might invest even in your business in a way or another. Yeah, they run yearly program to support small businesses, and this is playing a very important role in the market. I can see a lot of small businesses that they are starting their businesses with the support of Qatar Business Incubating Center, and they are evolving, they are developing their operations in Qatar. A lot of things, to be honest, that attract investors. Like one of these things, maybe the initiatives that the governmental took to reduce the fees of the incorporation. For example, it was reduced by 90% in some cases. Before the incorporation fees, governmental fees, reaching maybe to 20,000 Qatar riyal in some cases, some kind of licenses. Now it's like as less as 3,000 to 5,000 Qatar riyal, you can start the business in Qatar. A lot of other factors, but I would say these are the major factors: the initiatives, the location, and the supporting programs available in Qatar.
You mentioned obviously previously heavy reliance on hydrocarbon and oil and gas industries. What sectors are we currently seeing gaining the most momentum or, transforming?
Transforming. Plenty, to be honest. But Qatar, basically, I mean, if you talk about energy, it's still basically the backbone of Qatar's economy. So there are plenty of projects going on. And also with the North Field expansion, Qatar is set to be the biggest LNG producer in 2030. But besides energy transitions, of course, we are seeing an increasing interest in sectors like, for example, logistics, constructions, digital technology, as well as tourism-related activities. So say, for example, digital technology. Previously, I think most of the technology-related businesses are typically set up in the mainland. But in recent years, Qatar Financial Center, as well as Qatar Free Zone, has also relaxed their regulations and allowing more AI-related, digital-related companies to be set up within the jurisdiction itself.
So that's really interesting. Are there any kind of more niche or emerging sectors that you think investors are currently maybe overlooking?
Yeah, I do agree with with what Mindy said. Beyond the hydrocarbon, let's say, industry, there are a lot of overlooking sectors, to be honest, like in Qatar, especially the sports technology. Let's say that was fueled by the sports infrastructure investment that took place like 3 years back for the FIFA Cup. So we all know that Qatar invested more than 200 billion US dollars in the sports technology and in the sports infrastructure investments, which may be putting Qatar in the, let's say, sports hub in the region as a sports hub in the region. So a lot of creative industries supported by the national culture and arts, like developing the National Museum in Qatar, the National Arts and Islamic Museum as well, which grabbing a lot of, let's say, of tourism. The agri tech for food security, which is something within the national vision to secure the food, which is manufactured and farmed in Qatar, and of course with their let's say programs to develop the smart farming in Qatar, which also grab a lot of investments within the sector in a way or another.
Okay, so a lot of interesting opportunity. And I know you guys talk often about how things are changing, so regularly on the ground in terms of improving the business environment and new reforms coming into place when it comes to labor and ownership and just business setup in general. Which of these do you think have really had the kind of biggest impact?
In my opinion, I think definitely the foreign ownerships. So I think if you look at FIFA, leading up to FIFA, there were a lot of foreign direct investments coming into Qatar. After FIFA, it sort of slowed down a little bit. So in the past 2 years, Qatar has been the lowest recipient of foreign direct investment in the whole GCC area. So to change this, Qatar definitely has to do something. So they have come up with a lot of initiatives like what Hussein mentioned, the Invest Qatar, the venture capitalist, but also at the same time with the introduction of more business activities that allows 100% foreign ownership, definitely is creating a biggest impact, because nowadays there are a lot of foreign companies that are looking at setting up their branches or subsidiaries in Qatar, and they are able to own these companies 100%. So it doesn't require a Qatari sponsorship to be involved in their business. The other thing that I feel that is making the biggest impact is also the streamlining of the process. So previously, if you look at a business setup, you'll probably be looking at maybe 2 months or 3 months to have a business set up end to end. But we have been seeing a streamlined process recently. So if you are looking at setting up business in mainland, typically it takes about probably 4 to 6 weeks currently. So everything can be done online. It's simple, it's straightforward. So I think that is the biggest drivers to attract businesses coming into Qatar.
Okay, and are these reforms that you've mentioned, or the changes that they've started to make, are what are changing the experience of setting up a business in Qatar?
Yeah, of course, pretty much it's changing the experience, because the incorporation process, I would say now, is significantly smoother than before, because Qatar developed the portal, the helping portal that are assisting in the incorporation. They are like they are giving faster approvals, maybe few bureaucratic obstacles, I would say. Guidance for the whole setup now is more clear. Everything is digital, resources are digital. Maybe, of course, also with the support of the governmental agencies and the governmental agents alongside. So there is like very enhanced support from the governmental agents and the governmental, the smart governmental portals, I would say. This, of course, making the life easier for the investor to come and invest in Qatar and incorporate their businesses in Qatar. Yeah.
When you're speaking to investors or clients, what are some of the common questions or maybe the concerns that you're hearing about, when they're looking at exploring Qatar among other regional options?
Definitely timeline, how fast it takes to set up the business in terms of visa, labor procedures, because a lot of foreign companies, they are not familiar with the HR regulations, like for example, end of service benefits. So that is definitely something that is of a concern of foreign businesses coming into Qatar. Cost is definitely one of those. Hussein earlier mentioned that there are certain discounts given to foreign companies looking at coming into Qatar, up to 90%. And also at the same time, on a personal basis, I think a lot of clients who are coming into Qatar would definitely want to know how safe Qatar is. For people with families, they definitely want to know which are the areas to stay. And for people with kids, what schools, education, and stuff like that. So these are the common questions that we get very, very regularly from clients.
Yeah, I think people are approaching things in the GCC more from a lifestyle approach as well, which is, I think, why we tend to see a lot of movement towards the UAE. But I know that that same trend is kind of spreading across the region. And you're right, safety and, school and options for places to live, work are really what's driving kind of family migration to Qatar as well. And from your experience, because both of you obviously work on the ground in Doha, from your day-to-day work, what are clients mostly focused on right now? Is it growth? I mean, compliance is changing a lot in the region. There's demand from kind of authority side of it. Is it compliance? Is it the kind of drive for innovation across the Middle East? Or is it kind of operational efficiency? What are they looking or are they focused on right now?
I would say all four, because clients usually prioritize a balanced maybe approach. Of course, the compliance part, they need to be compliant with the evolving regulations. Of course, regarding the growth, everyone scale for growth and scale their operations to enter maybe a new market, to expand their operations in Qatar and of course outside Qatar as well. The operational efficiency, this is very important topic, because all the investors, they seek to have operational efficiency, to automate workflow, to reduce costs, of course, to increase the profit. All four combined. Also innovation, of course, this is very important part. So leveraging the digital transformation, maybe initiative supported by there are some national programs like TASMO in Qatar, like QDB, as I mentioned before. These are very important things to help the investors in leveraging their digital transformation and their initiatives.
I think companies nowadays are smarter and more strategic. So when they are looking at coming into the market, they are not only looking at the setup, the processes. At the same time, I think what they are looking at are opportunities. So say, for example, someone who is in oil and gas industry, they definitely want to know what kind of projects are available from Qatar Energy. Upon setting up the company, what are the opportunities to scale their businesses to a greater level? So those are definitely the things or the day-to-day conversations that we are having with clients nowadays. So we come in from a very advisory and consultational perspective, finding out opportunities, doing a little bit more research on behalf of the client and giving them a more well-rounded advice on from day one, if you set up your company, to the opportunities that you can explore in the near future, and also sustainability, the longevity of the business.
Okay, maybe it would be helpful to see an example. I don't know if either of you can present some kind of case study as to a company that's come in that's maybe had a successful setup, because that might be able to help people benchmark the kinds of businesses that are entering the market.
There are a lot of examples for success stories, I would say, but I remember very, very, very good example. One of our clients, they won a major bid in the energy sector and they needed to hit ground running as soon as we can. So we were able to set up their local presence quickly. It was very fast setup, to be honest. Getting their team operational, finalized their visas, their residency permits, and we were guiding them through all the incorporation process on ground. And of course, we helped big time in the recruitment process because, see, everything was in place very fast. So licensing, visa, the local compliance, everything was very fast. So, of course, we were focusing on starting the incorporation as soon as we can because they were focusing on delivering the project, starting the contract itself. So it was very successful case. It's remarkable. I would put this example in each and every meeting maybe. So it was very, very significant success story.
One question that I'm also going to add in here is, if you're an investor maybe sat in the UK or Singapore, where would you, and you're considering your options across the region. Should I set up in Abu Dhabi? Should I set up in Qatar? Should I set up in Saudi? Where would you kind of put Qatar in terms of strategy as to why you might select that over one of the other regional options?
I think it all depends on what kind of industry the business is in, and also whether it's an SME, whether it's an entrepreneur, or whether it's an MNC. So different jurisdiction or different countries actually provide different business. So say, for example, like I mentioned, the sectors that we are looking in Qatar, the backbone is still energy related. But we are also looking into health tech, digital tech, and also logistics. So if your business are under these sectors, then perhaps Qatar is somewhere that you can potentially look into. If I'm comparing the different countries, so say, for example, Saudi. Saudi has a huge population, we all know. The opportunities there are great. But set up a business there, typically, it requires more substance, like, for example, a higher share capital. There are more bureaucracies to go through. So if you are SME, then maybe Saudi is not somewhere that you should look at this point of time. Perhaps you can set up somewhere in Qatar first, right? And then expand your business into other regions in GCC. So we have a lot of examples of clients who have set up in Qatar as a base. And then subsequently, when they are looking at expanding, they will look into other regions, even for energy shipping as well. So we recently had a client who set up a company in Qatar. So they are actually a shipping company, provide everything that is required for ships and vessels who are doing oil and gas industry. So the reason why they why they are choosing Qatar as the first location is because when they think about Dubai and Abu Dhabi, they find that it's very competitive. Yeah. So when they think about Saudi, they do not know anybody. They do not know any opportunities there at this point of time. So the opportunity for them is in Qatar to set up first, get the network right, and then subsequently explore other regions in GCC. Hussein, what do you think?
Yeah, I do agree. If we compare Qatar to other GCC, of course, all GCC market is in general is very good market, always booming, always have national visions. But the tough regulations in KSA, it's smoother in Qatar. The less competitive market of Qatar and with high purchase power, I would say Qatar compared to other jurisdictions. Yeah, I would highly emphasize of what on what we just said. Yeah, maybe to start in Qatar because of the ease of the regulations, and then expand to more toughest markets, to put it in that way, like KSA. Don't get me wrong, KSA is really tough, but a lot of opportunities are going there as well.
It sounds like Qatar sits somewhere nicely in the middle, where obviously Saudi's kind of attracting maturer businesses, and then Dubai is probably almost, or the UAE is maybe too much of a testing ground, whereas in Qatar you have that entrepreneurial kind of step for people where they can come in with less experience, but then also, like you said, grow in a much less saturated environment. So over the last couple of years, and as we head into 2026, is there any investor trends that you're finding, like any regions specifically that are attracted to Qatar?
I've noticed a lot of businesses that are aligned with the Qatar National Vision model in Qatar, healthcare type of businesses, maybe the small entrepreneurs in the tech, in AI, in education. Yeah, I would say that yes, it's noticeable.
Maybe to add on, well, for over the recent years, I also saw an interest coming from Asia in particular, say, for example, China. So I think if you have been to Qatar, you probably see on the roads, there are a lot of Chinese manufactured cars. So that is China is definitely one of the countries that we want to focus in 2026 itself, because not only that they have very smart technology, like Hussein said, Qatar has quite a fair bit of purchasing powers. So with this Chinese manufactured cars coming into the market, there are a lot of demand for that at this point of time. The other sector that we are actually looking at, or we see a particular interest in, is waste management, recycling. So when I was in Hong Kong during the Belt and Road Summit, I actually had a lot of interest for battery recycling, solar energy. And this is also one of the vision that Qatar government has for National Vision 2030. So, well, I guess, these are the sectors that we probably see potential growth in 20 beyond.
Okay, so I imagine that would become quite a large regional focus area for you guys as a business development team.
Yeah, for sure. So we are not only focusing on businesses in Qatar, looking at expanding in Qatar, we are also looking at international businesses. So of course, our neighbors like Dubai, for companies who are already set up in Dubai, they may look at a second place to expand their business. So Qatar is definitely a good place to look into it. We are also looking at places like Saudi, Turkey, right? All our regional neighboring countries. Further out, we are also looking at expanding into, say, Singapore, Hong Kong, and China, because there are lots of opportunities for companies that are there to look into Qatar.
Yeah, and I've definitely seen, having recently assessed a lot of our client trends and movements over the last 2 years, successfully established businesses in the UAE expanding to Qatar. And that's so varied, like apps, and more on the lifestyle front, I've found as well, kind of solidifying the idea that Qatar also really appeals to families.
Yeah, there are a lot of good schools here. And also, when I was in Dubai over the past few weeks, I think traffic is one of the things that most people talk about. So to get from...
Yeah, it drives everybody insane.
So I think in Qatar, it's still not so bad. Definitely, it is a safe place to be in, especially when you're raising kids. I can vouch for that. And there are good schools for kids to go to. I recently had an Australian company looking at coming to Qatar, and the first thing that they asked about is activities. Are there a lot of things to do over the weekend? We are in a very good location. The proximity to everywhere in the world is amazing. Like, you can just take like a 1 hour flight to Dubai. You can also go to neighboring countries. You can go to Europe. Yeah, so the joke that I had with him was, if you want to fly from Australia to Europe, it's going to probably take you 20 hours. Yeah, but from Qatar to Europe, it's probably going to take you only 5 hours.
Are you finding more often, even the corporate investors that you're speaking to, they're asking more and more about general relocation and kind of environment on the ground?
Yes, I think so. I think a lot of people are looking at relocating. It's a very transient environment, right? So many investors are looking at opportunities elsewhere. I was speaking to some investors from the UK. They have approached us to ask about golden visa. Basically, are there any opportunities to purchase a property and getting a visa to stay in Qatar? We are able to assist clients who are looking at properties or golden visas or visa via real estate investments as well. The reason why they are looking at that, definitely because, it's kind of a lifestyle thing, like you mentioned, right? So we do get quite a fair bit of inquiries coming from all over the world, in fact.
Yeah, I do agree. If we were in the investor shoes, so what are usually things that investors seek for or ask for in Qatar? Is it safe to invest in Qatar, which is obviously yes? Is it a well-maintained country with proper infrastructure, which is strongly yes, because we all know that everything is new, all the infrastructure is new bridges and new roads, maybe new cities even. Like Hussein.
Yeah, they've invested a lot into the country, right, in order to make it as livable and as attractive as possible.
Exactly. Is it easy to be compliant with the Qatar regulations? It's very easy. How can I obtain maybe the visa for me, for my employees? It's a very easy process. Is there maybe important or very good talents? Let's say in Qatar, there is So these are the major things that usually businesses, or let's say entrepreneurs or business owners, they ask for, and it's all there in Qatar, right?
Yeah, and actually you guys are possibly the most well positioned in terms of basically a 45-minute flight max to any of the other regional cities.
That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and then just maybe some closing advice from both of you about, what advice would you give to international companies or investors who are thinking about Qatar?
Yeah, apart from come to Qatar, yeah, of course, I would advise them do a thorough research, market research about Qatar. Go to Google, check about Qatar, check the officer resources, use the available portals, Qatari portals like Ministry of Commerce, like Single Window. It's very, very easy, very user-friendly type of portals. Do the research, check the available portals. Again, linking to the business alignment. Align your business with the Qatar National Vision 2030. They are pushing to highlight the, let's say, educational sector, maybe healthcare sector, AI, technology. If you are in this field, come check, do of course, do a proper research. There are a lot of opportunities out there. I would say also be flexible to the evolving regulations. We investors need to be flexible and prepared maybe to adapt with the evolving regulations, and all for the good sake of the investors and at the end of the day. But of course, investors need to be prepared and flexible enough to adapt to the regulations. Yeah, these are pretty much the most important advices, let's say, for the investors that are considering entering Qatari market, and they really need to consider Qatar among all GCC countries because of a lot of factors that we have mentioned earlier.
Things are very fluid here. Things might change overnight in terms of regulation. So like Hussein said, businesses need to be flexible. Very importantly, I think it's very important to have a knowledgeable team on the ground from day one, right, who knows exactly what is happening on the ground, because it does make a huge difference in getting your businesses set up. So you need someone who is responsive, someone who knows what is happening on the ground in order to advise you ongoing, because like I said, things are fluid, right? So things might change overnight. So with experience, right, or our PROs are constantly at the ministry day in, day out. So they definitely are very updated with what's happening in the market itself.
Fabulous, guys. I think that's a really good overview and some great insights into what's kind of happening in Qatar at the moment. So Mindy, Hussein, thank you so much.